Okay, let's dive deep into Leviticus chapter 21.
Right.
This section, it really lays out some incredibly specific standards for the priests, the sons of Aaron.
Yeah, very detailed. We're looking at the rules governing their lives, what they could and couldn't do, and I guess why it mattered so much.
Exactly. So it starts with these rules about ceremonial uncleanness, particularly around death.
That's right. For your average priest, becoming unclean, well, it was restricted, but not totally forbidden in all cases.
Okay.
They could defile themselves for, their absolute closest relatives, mother, father, son, daughter, brother.
The immediate family.
Yes, and also an unmarried sister who was still dependent, sort of part of that core household.
But not for others, like relatives by marriage.
No, the text is clear on that. Not for those related by marriage or anyone less immediate. It really emphasizes maintaining a high level of ritual purity in their day-to-day.
And this standard, it ramps up significantly for the high priest, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Much stricter. The high priest, the one specially anointed, he couldn't become unclean even for his own father or mother.
Wow. Not even parents.
No, and he couldn't go into a place with a dead body, period, or even leave the sanctuary area once he was consecrated. His dedication had to be, well, absolute. It trumped even those really fundamental family duties.
That paints a picture of intense separation for that role. So beyond death, the chapter gets into physical appearance too, and marriage.
It does. It covers how they presented themselves and who they formed families with. Priests were told not to shave their heads bald or shave off the corners of their beards or make cuts on their bodies.
Any idea why those specific things?
Well, it seems likely these were common mourning customs or maybe religious practices in surrounding cultures. So these rules would set them apart, marking them as distinct, as holy to their God, Yahweh.
Okay, distinguishing them. And the marriage rules were also pretty strict.
Very. Priests were explicitly forbidden from marrying women defiled by prostitution or women who were divorced.
And the reason given?
It's direct. They must be holy to their God. Marrying someone considered defiled in those ways would profane his holy status. That holiness had to extend to his household.
And for the high priest again, even tighter.
Correct. He had an additional requirement to marry only a virgin from his own people.
From his own people specifically.
Yes. Seems it was about ensuring the purity of his lineage, making sure no perceived defilement was passed down through his children among the people.
The chapter also mentions something quite stark. A consequence for a priest's daughter who didn't uphold these standards.
It does, and it's severe. If a priest's daughter defiled herself by becoming a prostitute, the text says she was to be burned with fire.
Burned. That's incredibly harsh.
It is. It really underscores the idea that her actions brought immense shame not just on her, but directly onto her father's sacred role and the whole priestly family's standing. It was about collective responsibility for holiness.
So, stepping back.
Mm-hmm.
What's the big picture here? Why all these detailed rules about, death, appearance, marriage, family?
It all circles back to their function, really. The text keeps repeating variations of, be holy to your God, do not profane his name.
Because they handle the sacred things.
Exactly. They present the offerings, which the text calls the food of their God. And because God is holy, those who serve him so directly, who handle these offerings, they must also be set apart, holy. Their entire life was meant to reflect that, not just temple duties.
And this expanded even to physical attributes, right? There are rules about physical defects.
Yes, that's another major part of the chapter. It states that any descendant of Aaron who had a physical defect couldn't approach the altar or the veil to offer the food of God.
The list is quite specific. Things like...
It lists things like being blind, lame, having a disfigured face or deformed limb, a crippled foot or hand, being hunchbacked or a dwarf, having a chronic eye issue, festering sores, or damaged testicles.
It sounds quite exclusionary from our perspective.
It can, but there's a really crucial distinction made in the text itself.
Yep.
While a priest with one of these conditions couldn't perform the sacrificial duties at the altar, that act was seen as potentially desecrating the holy space, he was still allowed to eat the holy food.
So he could still eat the offerings.
Yes, both the most holy and the holy food, alongside the other priests. He was still part of that priestly community, supported by the system. The restriction was specifically about officiating at the altar itself.
Okay, that's an important nuance.
Yeah.
So wrapping up, Leviticus 21 gives us this incredibly detailed framework. Holiness, purity, lineage. even physical condition for the priests.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a life completely dedicated, set apart for God's service. And these standards were seen as vital because, well, these priests were the mediators. They handled the sacred connection between God and the people.
It's fascinating, isn't it? These ancient rules show a culture just deeply invested in ritual purity and these very specific qualifications for divine representation. As you think about this, why do you suppose such detailed physical and social requirements were deemed so necessary back then?
It's a great question, and maybe building on that, reflecting on these really exacting demands, what does this chapter make you consider about dedication, about representation, or even about this idea of wholeness in sacred roles, maybe across different faiths or even today? Lots to think about there.